The station never slept, but at night it pretended to. Minho pushed his cleaning cart through the empty corridors of the Covenant Archive Station, listening to the hum of air filters and the distant buzz of power cores. His footsteps echoed on the metal floor. After 5 years of working the night shift, he knew every sound, every shadow, every corner of this massive place. He was 28 years old and invisible. The alien workers passed him during shift changes without looking at him. The scientists ignored him when he emptied their trash bins. To them, he was just another human doing the work nobody else wanted. That was fine with Minho. He liked the quiet. He liked being alone with his thoughts. Tonight was different, though. Director Vexthor had given him new access codes that morning. The Forbidden Vault needed cleaning for the first time in 300 years. Some council inspection was coming, and everything had to look perfect. Vexthor had looked at Minho with his 4 arms crossed, his expression clearly saying he thought humans were barely smart enough to push a mop. Minho didn't care what the director thought. The job paid enough to send money home to his sister Hana every month. That was what mattered. The vault door was huge and covered in symbols he couldn't read. He pressed his hand against the scanner and typed in the code. The door groaned and slid open with a sound like breathing. Cold air rushed out, making him shiver. The lights inside flickered on automatically, revealing rows and rows of pedestals holding strange objects. Some glowed faintly, others looked like ordinary rocks or pieces of metal. These were artifacts from dead civilizations, things so old that nobody remembered who made them or what they did. The archive station collected them from all over the galaxy. Hundreds of alien species came here to study the past, hoping to find secrets in the dust. Minho stepped inside and got to work. Dust covered everything. His cleaning scanner showed residue buildup on the pedestals, the walls, even the ceiling. He started in the back corner where the least important items were kept, things that probably didn't do anything at all. He was wiping down a pedestal holding what looked like a broken piece of pottery when his hand slipped. The edge was sharper than he expected. Pain shot through his palm as the jagged crystal formation cut deep into his skin. Blood welled up immediately, dark red against his pale skin. Minho cursed and grabbed a cloth from his cart, but as he pulled his hand back, a single drop of his blood fell. It fell in slow motion, or at least that's how he remembered it later. The drop hit something on the pedestal behind him. The Helix crown. He had noticed it earlier because it looked almost beautiful, even under all the dust. It was made of some kind of gold metal twisted into a spiral pattern. Small crystals dotted its surface like stars. According to the label, it was found on a dead world called Terminus Prime, inside a temple buried under miles of ice. Nobody knew what it did. Nobody knew who made it. It had sat here, silent and dark, for over 1,000 years. Until now. The moment his blood touched the crown, light exploded through the vault. Golden light so bright that Minho had to shield his eyes. The crown lifted off its pedestal and hung in the air, spinning slowly. Energy pulsed from it in waves that made Minho's teeth ache. Symbols appeared in the air around it, glowing and shifting, writing in a language he had never seen but somehow almost understood. Every alarm in the station started screaming. Minho stumbled backward, his hand still bleeding, his heart pounding. What had he done? The crown kept spinning, kept glowing, and the light grew brighter and brighter until he couldn't see anything else. Then the door burst open. Security guards rushed in, weapons raised. Behind them came Director Vexthor, his 4 eyes wide with something Minho had never seen before on the alien's face. Fear. "Get away from it!" Vexthor shouted, but Minho couldn't move. The light from the crown seemed to hold him in place, wrapping around him like invisible chains. One of the guards fired a stun bolt. It hit Minho in the chest and the world went dark. When he woke up, he was in a cell. His head pounded and his hand was bandaged, but he was alive. The cell was small and white, and had no windows. A force field hummed across the doorway. Minho sat up slowly, trying to remember what happened. The crown, the light, the blood. Footsteps approached. Director Vex Thor appeared outside the force field, and he wasn't alone. A human woman stood beside him. Minho recognized her. Nari. She was one of the few human historians working on the station. She had always been kind to him, saying hello in the hallways when others looked through him. "Minho," Nari said softly. "What did you do?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I cut my hand. My blood fell on that crown thing, then it just started glowing." Vex Thor made a sound like grinding metal. "The Helix crown has not activated in 10,000 years. It is said to respond only to one bloodline, the progenitor bloodline. But that is impossible. The progenitors have been extinct for millennia." "I don't understand," Minho said. "What are progenitors?" Nari's face was pale. "They were the first civilization, the ones who came before everyone else. They spread life across the galaxy, or so the legends say. But they vanished long ago. Nobody knows what happened to them." "And you think I'm related to these progenitors?" Minho almost laughed. "I'm just a janitor. My family has been on Earth for generations. We're nobody special." "The crown does not lie," Vex Thor said coldly. "It recognized something in your blood. The council has been contacted. They will decide what to do with you." "What does that mean?" Nari looked away. Vex Thor's expression was unreadable. But Minho could guess. He had activated something he shouldn't have. He had proven himself dangerous somehow. And dangerous things didn't last long in the Galactic Coalition, especially when they were human. The director turned and walked away. Nari lingered for a moment. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Then she left too. Minho sat alone in his cell and looked at his bandaged hand. Somewhere in the station, the crown was still glowing, still calling out to him, still waiting for something. He didn't know it yet, but his blood had woken up more than just an old artifact. It had woken up the truth. And the truth was going to change everything. 3 days passed in the white cell. They brought Minho food and water, but no answers. He could hear people talking outside sometimes, their voices angry or scared. The whole station felt different now, tense, like everyone was waiting for something terrible to happen. On the 4th day, they came for him. 2 guards escorted him through corridors he had cleaned 100 times. Other workers stopped and stared. Some of the aliens looked at him with hatred. Others looked curious. One elderly insect-like creature bowed its head as he passed. The gesture confused Minho more than anything else. They took him to a large room with windows overlooking the stars. A long table sat in the center. Around it stood various alien officials, and at the head of the table sat someone Minho recognized from news broadcasts. High Chancellor Torvin, leader of the entire Galactic Coalition. His scaled face looked ancient and cold. "Sit," Torvin commanded. Minho sat. His hands were shaking. An insect being with too many legs stepped forward. Unlike the others, this one's voice was gentle. "I am Scholar Ulthus. I have studied the progenitors my entire life, which is considerably long. I have examined the crown. I have examined you, and I must say what others fear to say. The crown's response is genuine." "That's impossible," another official snapped. "Humans are a young species, barely space-worthy. They cannot be connected to the progenitors." "The DNA does not lie," Ulthus continued calmly. "This human carries genetic markers that match fragments we have found in progenitor ruins across 12 systems. The markers are faint, diluted by thousands of generations, but they are present." The room erupted in argument. Aliens shouted in languages Minho didn't understand. Torvin raised one clawed hand, and silence fell immediately. "If this is true," the Chancellor said slowly, "then we have a problem. Our entire civilization is built on progenitor technology. Technology we barely understand. If humans are their descendants, it changes everything." "It changes nothing," said a military commander with too many arms. "One human with old blood doesn't threaten the coalition." "No," Nari's voice cut through the room. She had been standing in the corner, unnoticed until now. "But thousands might. Millions might. If Minho carries these markers, others could too. How many humans have you never bothered to test? How many have you dismissed as too primitive to matter?" Torvin's eyes narrowed. "You suggest we have been sitting on a powder keg. I suggest you have been underestimating an entire species." Another official stepped forward, this one a human man Minho didn't recognize. He was older, with gray hair and fierce eyes. "My name is Jiho. I represent human colonies across the Outer Rim. You cannot imprison this man for bleeding. You cannot punish him for his DNA. We can do whatever necessary to maintain order," Torvin said coldly. "Then you'll have a war," Jiho replied. "Word has already spread. Humans across the galaxy know that one of us activated a progenitor artifact. They know you're holding him. If he disappears, if he dies, there will be consequences." Minho wanted to sink into his chair. He didn't want to be the center of this. He didn't want to be important. He just wanted to go back to his quiet life, his simple job, his messages with Hana. Scholar Ulthus spoke again. "There is more. Since the crown activated, other artifacts have begun responding. Small reactions, barely noticeable, but present. A statue on Kelmar 3 that hasn't moved in 8,000 years turned its head. A door on Terminus Prime opened for the first time in recorded history. Something is waking up across the galaxy." "What does it mean?" someone asked. "I believe the crown was a signal, a genetic key. When it recognized the bloodline, it sent out a message to other progenitor systems. They are waiting for their makers to return." Torvin stood up, his full height towering over everyone. "Then we must shut it down, destroy the crown, destroy anything that might respond to this bloodline." "No," Uldis said firmly. "You cannot destroy what you don't understand. The progenitors left these things for a reason, and that reason died with them 10,000 years ago." The argument continued, but Minho stopped listening. His head hurt. None of this made sense. How could he be related to some ancient civilization? His parents were farmers. His grandparents were fishermen. There was nothing special about his family at all. That night they took him to better quarters. Still locked, still guarded, but at least he had a real bed and a window. Nari came to see him. "I've been researching," she said, pulling up displays on her tablet. "There are legends on Earth. Stories about a lost civilization that existed before recorded history. Advanced people who built things that shouldn't have been possible. Then they vanished. Most scholars think it's just mythology. But you don't," Minho said. "Not anymore. What if some humans left Earth thousands of years ago? What if they became the progenitors? And then something happened. A war, a disaster, something that forced the survivors to return home. They would have lost their technology, their knowledge. Over generations, they would become just another primitive society. Until now." "Until now," she agreed. "Your blood remembered, even if you don't." A sound like thunder echoed through the station. The lights flickered. Alarms started blaring again. "What's happening?" Minho asked. Nari checked her tablet and her face went white. "Someone just tried to kill you. They fired a missile at this section, but..." "But what?" "The crown. It created some kind of shield. The missile exploded before it could reach the station. Minho, the artifact is protecting you." Two guards burst into the room. "Move! Both of you! Now!" They ran through shaking corridors. Explosions boomed somewhere distant. People screamed. The station was under attack, but Minho didn't know by who or why. They reached a hangar where a small ship waited. A woman in a pilot's uniform waved them forward. "Get in! We're getting you out of here!" "Who are you?" Nari demanded. "Someone who thinks humans deserve better. I'm Yuna, Coalition military, and I just committed treason for you people, so move! Minho climbed aboard, his mind spinning. Everything was happening too fast. Just days ago, he was mopping floors. Now civilizations were arguing over his blood, and people were trying to kill him. As the ship launched into space, he looked back at the archive station. Other ships were attacking it, defending it, fighting over what he represented. The crown was still there, still glowing, still waiting, and somehow Minho knew this was just the beginning. His blood had awakened something that had been sleeping for 10,000 years. Now the whole galaxy would have to face the truth. Humanity was not what anyone thought they were, and the universe was about to change forever. The ship jumped through 3 star systems before anyone spoke. Yuna kept checking the scanners, her jaw tight with tension. Nari sat beside Minho, her hands shaking slightly. They had escaped the archive station, but Minho didn't feel safe. He felt like an animal being hunted. "Where are we going?" he finally asked. "Somewhere the Coalition won't look immediately," Yuna said. "A old mining station on the edge of charted space. My brother works there. We can hide while we figure out what to do next." "They'll find us," Nari said quietly. "You saw what happened. Half the council wants him dead. The other half wants to study him like a lab specimen." "Then we find others like him," Yuna replied. "If there are more humans with progenitor markers, they can't kill all of you. Numbers mean safety." Minho touched his bandaged hand. The cut had healed faster than normal. He had noticed that yesterday. "What if I don't want this? What if I just want to go back to being nobody?" Yuna looked at him through the mirror. "Too late for that. The moment the crown recognized you, you became the most important person in the galaxy. Like it or not." The mining station appeared ahead, a rusty collection of modules held together by docking clamps. It looked barely functional. Yuna brought the ship in smoothly and they docked without incident. Her brother Doyun met them at the airlock. He was young, maybe 25, with grease stains on his uniform and a suspicious look in his eyes. "You brought trouble," he said to Yuna. "When don't I?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We need to stay here. Few days, maybe a week. Every enforcer in the Coalition is looking for them. You know that, right?" "I know." Doyen sighed and led them deeper into the station. The mining operation was small, only about 200 workers, mostly human with a few aliens. They stared at Minho as he passed. Word traveled fast in space. They knew who he was. They gave him a small room with a bed and a desk. Minho lay down and tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw the crown spinning in golden light. He heard voices speaking in languages that shouldn't make sense, but somehow did. His head felt full of something that wasn't his own thoughts. 2 days passed. Jiho arrived on the 3rd day with Scholar Olthus and a dozen other humans from various colonies. They set up equipment in the station's common room and started running tests on Minho's blood. "Remarkable," Olthus kept saying. "Simply remarkable. The markers are stronger than we initially thought. Your blood doesn't just carry progenitor DNA, it carries instructions. Genetic memory passed down through thousands of generations." "What kind of memory?" Minho asked. "We don't know yet. But the crown recognized it. That means something." Jiho pulled Minho aside later. "We need to make a stand. The Coalition is declaring martial law in human sectors. They're rounding up people for genetic testing. Some colonies are already talking about rebellion. Because of me. Because of what you represent. Hope. The idea that humans aren't the weak species everyone thinks we are." "I'm just a janitor," Minho said for what felt like the 100th time. "You were a janitor. Now you're proof that humanity has a history greater than anyone imagined." That night, Coalition ships appeared in the system. Yuna's scanners picked them up before they could attack. "We need to leave," she said. "Now." But Doyun shook his head. Too late. They've got us surrounded. We'd never make it to jump range. Then what do we do? High Chancellor Torvin's face appeared on every screen in the station. Attention all humans on Mining Station Delta 7. You are harboring a fugitive. Surrender him within the hour or face destruction. The workers gathered in the common room. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. One old woman with gray hair stepped forward. They want to kill us for existing, for being what we are. Maybe it's time we stopped hiding. Murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd. Minho felt sick. Don't fight because of me. Please. We're not fighting because of you, Doyun said. We're fighting because we're tired of being treated like garbage. Yuna checked her weapons. Coalition Marines will board us in 30 minutes. We can't win, but we can make them remember us. Minho stood up. His hand was shaking, but his voice was steady. No, I'll go with them. No one else needs to die. They'll kill you, Nari said. Maybe, but they'll do it where everyone can see. And maybe that will mean something. Before anyone could argue, Minho walked to the airlock. He opened it and stepped into the docking tube. Coalition soldiers waited on the other side, weapons raised. They surrounded him immediately, binding his hands. They took him to their command ship. The bridge was massive and cold. High Chancellor Torvin stood waiting, his scaled face expressionless. You have caused considerable trouble, human. I didn't mean to. Intent is irrelevant. You have destabilized the entire coalition. Species that once respected our authority now question everything. All because of your blood. Then let me tell them the truth. Put me on trial. Let everyone see what I am and decide for themselves. Torvin studied him for a long moment. You want a trial? Yes. Very well. We will broadcast it across all coalition space. Every world will watch. And when they see that you are nothing special, that the crown was a malfunction or a trick, order will be restored. But Minho saw something in the Chancellor's eyes. Doubt. Fear. Torvin wasn't sure what the trial would reveal, and that scared him more than anything. The trial began the next day. Billions watched from thousands of worlds. They placed Minho in a chamber at the center of a vast courtroom. Prosecutors presented their case. He was a fraud, a troublemaker. The crown's activation was coincidence or sabotage. Then they brought out the crown itself. The moment it entered the room, it began to glow. Golden light filled the chamber. Minho felt something surge through his blood, something ancient and powerful. His eyes rolled back and he began to speak. But the words weren't his. The language was old, older than any recorded tongue. But the translation systems worked, barely. Minho's voice described things he had never seen, great cities that touched the stars, ships that could cross the galaxy in heartbeats, a civilization that had achieved wonders beyond imagination, the progenitors, his ancestors. Images appeared in the air above him, pulled from his genetic memory. Everyone watching saw the truth. Humans had once ruled the galaxy. They had spread life to barren worlds. They had built the technology that all current civilizations used. Then the images showed war. Something came from outside, from beyond space itself. Dark shapes that consumed everything they touched. The Void Swarm. The progenitors fought for centuries but couldn't win. So they made a choice. They sealed the dimensional rifts. They destroyed their own civilization to save the galaxy. And they hid themselves, regressing to primitive life on a single world called Earth, hoping that one day their descendants would be ready to reclaim their heritage. When Minho's voice finally stopped, when the images faded, absolute silence filled the courtroom. Then chaos erupted. Some aliens fell to their knees. Others ran from the chamber. Torvin sat frozen, his face pale beneath his scales. Minho collapsed, exhausted and confused. He barely remembered what he had said. But the galaxy remembered, and nothing would ever be the same. The galaxy burned with arguments and violence. Some worlds celebrated the revelation, others denied it completely. Human colonies declared independence from the coalition. Alien governments fractured as different factions chose different sides. And in the middle of it all, Minho just wanted to rest. They escaped during the chaos. Doyon had brought his ship close during the trial, ready to extract them the moment opportunity appeared. When the courtroom erupted in confusion, Yuna grabbed Minho and they ran. Coalition guards tried to stop them, but other guards stood aside. Not everyone wanted to fight anymore. Now they were running again, always running. Minho sat in the back of the ship and stared at his hands. He remembered speaking during the trial, but the memories felt strange, like they belonged to someone else, someone much older and wiser. "There's a human colony on the galactic rim," Nari said, studying her tablet. "Hidden from the coalition for decades. They kept old stories alive, legends about the progenitors. They might help us. Or they might think we're insane," Doyon muttered from the pilot seat. "Only one way to find out." The colony was built inside a massive asteroid. Dozens of ships surrounded it, all armed despite the coalition's laws against human weapons. When they requested docking permission, the response came quickly. "Come in. We've been waiting for you." The colony leader was a woman named Bora. She was older than Minho expected, maybe 60, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She led them through clean tunnels to a laboratory hidden in the asteroid's heart. "We've been studying progenitor artifacts for 40 years, she explained. "Pieces we found on old worlds, fragments of technology that shouldn't exist. We always knew there was a connection to humanity. We just couldn't prove it." She showed them her research, genetic samples from thousands of humans across the galaxy, careful analysis of bloodlines and inherited traits. "The progenitor markers appear randomly," Bora said. "About 1 in every 100,000 humans carries active DNA. Most never know. But you, Minho, you have the strongest markers we've ever seen." "Why me?" "Random chance, genetic luck. Maybe the universe has a sense of humor." She smiled. "But you're not alone. We've identified 43 individuals with significant markers. We've been trying to contact them." "Have any responded?" Jiho asked. 7 so far. They're on their way here." Over the next week, others arrived. A mechanic from a cargo hauler, a teacher from a farming colony, a doctor, a musician. They were all ordinary people with extraordinary blood. Minho felt less alone seeing them, but also more afraid. If the coalition decided to destroy them, here they all were in one place. Scholar Ulthus arrived on the 8th day with urgent news. "The Genesis Forge has activated, a massive structure on the rim built by the progenitors. It's been dormant for 10,000 years. Now it's calling out." "Calling to what?" Yuna asked. "To them. To humans with the bloodline." The scholar's many eyes focused on Minho. "It's calling to you specifically." "Why?" "We don't know. But we must go there. The answers we seek are inside that structure." Bora shook her head. "The coalition will never let us reach it. They've probably sent ships to destroy it already." "Then we need to move fast," Doyon said. "And we need help." That help came from unexpected places. Yuna contacted other coalition officers who questioned their orders. Some defected, bringing their ships with them. Alien species who had been oppressed by the Council saw an opportunity for change. A fleet began to gather around the hidden colony. Dozens of ships from 100 different worlds. Minho's sister Hana arrived during the preparations. She pushed through the crowd and hugged him so hard his ribs hurt. "You idiot," she said, crying. "You scared me to death. I thought I'd never see you again." "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "I know. But we're together now, and I'm not letting you face this alone." She had brought something with her, an old box from their parents' home on Earth. Inside were papers, photographs, family records going back generations. Mom always said our family was special. I thought she meant we were close, you know? But look at this. She showed him a photograph from 300 years ago. A man who looked almost exactly like Minho, standing in front of ruins nobody recognized. On the back, someone had written, "He found the old place, said it felt like home." Our family was searching for something, Hannah said. Maybe they didn't know what, but they knew we came from somewhere important. The fleet left the next day, 50 ships, maybe more. Not enough to fight the Coalition's military, but enough to make a statement. They jumped toward the Galactic Rim, toward the Genesis Forge, toward answers. The forge appeared on their scanners like a small moon, but as they got closer, Minho realized how massive it really was. Structures that stretched for hundreds of miles, towers that reached into space, architecture that made no sense but somehow felt right. And surrounding it was the Coalition's armada, hundreds of ships, all weapons armed. "They're hailing us," Doyen said. "It's High Chancellor Torvin." The Chancellor's face filled the screen. He looked older now, tired. "Turn back. This structure is too dangerous to be allowed to function. I will destroy it, and anyone who tries to stop me." "You can't destroy what you don't understand," Minho said, surprising himself by speaking. "The forge isn't a weapon. It's a library, a school. It was left for us." "How do you know that?" "I don't know how I know, but I do. The progenitors built it for their children, for us, to teach us how to face what's coming." "What's coming?" Minho closed his eyes and saw images from his genetic memory, dark shapes moving through space, the void swarm. "They're coming back, the things that destroyed the progenitor civilization. The dimensional seals are weakening. In 1 generation, maybe 2, they'll break through. And when they do, the entire galaxy will face extinction." Silence on the channel. Then Torvin spoke, his voice heavy. "You're lying, using fear to protect yourself." "I wish I was lying." A massive ship appeared at the edge of the system, different from Coalition vessels, ancient and strange. A voice echoed across all frequencies, mechanical but somehow alive. "This Guardian unit has waited 10,000 years for Bloodline carriers to return. This Guardian greets the heirs of the Makers. This Guardian will assist you in activating the Genesis Forge." The android ship moved toward them, ignoring the Coalition fleet entirely. Weapons fired at it, but shields absorbed the damage effortlessly. "That's impossible," Yuna whispered. "That technology is centuries ahead of anything we have." "It's progenitor technology," Bora said. "The real thing, not the pieces we've been scavenging, the actual source." Minho felt something pulling at him. The forge was calling, his blood was answering. Around him, the other carriers felt it too. They needed to go inside. They needed to learn. "All Bloodline carriers will enter the Genesis Forge," the Guardian announced. "Knowledge transfer will begin. Warning, the process is painful. Warning, not all will survive." "Warning, those who complete the process will never be the same." Hannah grabbed Minho's arm. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. This is why I was born. This is why all of us were born. To remember what our ancestors forgot. To become what humanity was always meant to be." He looked at the other carriers, fear and determination on their faces. They were just ordinary people, a janitor, a mechanic, a teacher. But their blood remembered greatness. And the galaxy needed them to remember too. The Genesis Forge opened like a flower blooming. Massive doors that had been sealed for 10,000 years slid apart, revealing corridors filled with golden light. The Guardian ship led them inside while the Coalition fleet held position outside, uncertain what to do. Minho walked with the other carriers through halls that felt both alien and familiar. His feet knew the path even though he had never been here. His hands recognized controls before he touched them. The genetic memory in his blood grew stronger with every step. They reached a vast chamber at the forge's heart. Thousands of pedestals stood in perfect circles, each one glowing with soft light. The Guardian's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. This is the Remembrance Chamber. Here, the Makers stored their knowledge, not in computers or books, but in genetic code. Each pedestal will transfer information directly into your DNA. You will remember what your ancestors knew. You will become what they were. A young girl stepped forward. She couldn't have been more than 12 years old. But her eyes held the same ancient look that Minho sometimes saw in mirrors. Will it hurt? Yes, the Guardian said honestly. You will experience 10,000 years of memories in minutes. Your mind will need to process civilizations rising and falling, technologies beyond current understanding, and the weight of countless lives. Some of you will not survive this, but those who do will have the knowledge to save the galaxy. Minho looked at Hana, who had insisted on coming despite having only weak progenitor markers. Stay with the ship. Please. No. We're family. We face this together. They stepped onto pedestals. The moment Minho's feet touched the surface, light shot up through his body. Pain exploded in his skull. Images flooded his mind faster than thought. He saw cities that stretched across entire continents. Ships that could fold space like paper. Weapons that could shatter planets. Medicine that could cure death itself. He saw the progenitors at their height. Humans who had become something more than human. They spread across the galaxy not to conquer, but to seed life, to give other species a chance to grow. They were gardeners of civilization. Then he saw the war. The Void Swarm came from dimensions that shouldn't exist, dark entities that consumed energy, matter, thought itself. The progenitors fought for 300 years. They won battles but couldn't win the war. The swarm was infinite. The progenitors were not. So they made the hardest choice. They sealed the dimensional rifts using technology that required an entire civilization to power. Every progenitor alive gave their life force to create the seal. All but a few who escaped back to Earth, carrying nothing but their DNA and the knowledge encoded within it. The seal would last 10,000 years. After that, the swarm would return, and the galaxy would need defenders. Minho screamed as the memories forced themselves into his brain. Around him, others screamed too. Some fell silent as their minds couldn't handle the information, but most endured. They gritted their teeth and accepted the pain, accepting the knowledge, accepting their inheritance. When it finally stopped, Minho collapsed to his knees. His body felt different. His mind felt larger, fuller. He looked at his hands and saw them glowing faintly with golden light. The progenitor technology responded to him now, not because he commanded it, but because it recognized him as its rightful heir. The young girl stood up, her eyes glowing. When she spoke, her voice carried authority that shouldn't belong to someone so small. The remembrance protocol is complete. We are carriers of the knowledge. We are the new progenitors. We are what humanity was always meant to become. Outside the forge, the battle had begun. High Chancellor Torvin had decided that destroying the structure was worth any cost. Coalition ships fired on the Guardian, on the Allied fleet, on the forge itself. Explosions lit up space like new stars. Doyan's panicked voice came through communicators. Minho, we can't hold them. There are too many. But Minho felt calm now. He understood. He walked to a control panel and placed his hand on it. The forge responded instantly. Defensive systems that had slept for millennia woke up. Energy shields surrounded the structure. Weapon platforms emerged from hidden bays. But Minho didn't fire. Violence had destroyed the progenitor civilization. He wouldn't make the same mistake. Instead, he reached out with his mind, using technology he now understood. He broadcast directly to every coalition ship, every world watching this battle. His voice carried the weight of genetic memory. "We are not your enemies. We never were. The progenitors seeded your worlds with life. They gave your ancestors the chance to evolve. They protected you from threats you never knew existed, and when they could no longer protect you, they hid themselves so the swarm wouldn't follow them to your worlds." He showed them everything. The full history, the sacrifice, the seal weakening, the swarm returning. In 30 years, maybe less, the seal will break, the void swarm will come again. And this time, we must face them together, not as separate species fighting for scraps, but as one galaxy united against extinction. The Coalition fleet stopped firing. Minho could feel High Chancellor Torvin's confusion through the communication channels. "You have the power to destroy us," Torvin said slowly. "Why don't you?" "Because that's not who we are. The progenitors didn't rule through fear. They led through hope. That's what we choose too." Silence stretched across space. Then one Coalition ship powered down its weapons, then another, then dozens, but not all. A militant faction under a warlord named Krenth refused to accept it. His ships charged toward the forge, weapons blazing. They fired everything they had. Minho raised his hand and the forge responded, not with violence, but with precision. Energy beams struck each attacking ship's weapon systems, disabling them without causing casualties. In seconds, Krenth's fleet was helpless. "This is what progenitor technology can do," Minho said. "We can defend without killing. We can be strong without being cruel. This is what we offer the galaxy, not domination, but partnership." More ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over without anyone dying. Minho felt exhausted but relieved. They had proven what humanity could be. In the days that followed, everything changed. The Coalition fractured as some species left to form their own governments. Others stayed and demanded reforms. Humans were no longer treated as a lesser species. Some worlds even asked human carriers to come and teach them about progenitor technology. Minho refused leadership positions that were offered. He wasn't a king or a president. He was a janitor who happened to have the right blood. Instead, he helped form the Caretaker Council, a group of carriers and allies dedicated to preparing the galaxy for the swarm's return. Hana had survived the Remembrance Protocol despite her weak markers. The knowledge she gained was less but still valuable. She became an engineer helping to decipher progenitor technology and adapt it for current use. Nari wrote the history of everything that happened. She made sure the truth wouldn't be forgotten or twisted. Yuna became a bridge between human and alien military forces, training them to work together. Scholar Ulthus continued his research, now with access to information he had dreamed about his entire life. And the young girl, whose name was Minji, became the voice of the Forge. She stayed inside the structure, learning everything it had to teach, preparing to lead humanity when the swarm returned. 6 months after the Remembrance Protocol, Minho stood on the observation deck of a new station being built near the Forge. Human and alien workers constructed it together, sharing knowledge and resources. It would become a training center, a place where the galaxy could prepare for the coming darkness. The Guardian's android form stood beside him, patient and silent. "Do you think we can win?" Minho asked. "When the swarm comes back?" "The Makers could not win," the Guardian said. "But they were alone. You are not. Every species in the galaxy now knows the threat. Every civilization has time to prepare. Unity provides options that isolation does not. I'm scared. That is appropriate. Fear motivates survival. But you also have hope. That is what the Makers gave you, the knowledge to fight, the time to prepare, and the blood of those who faced extinction and chose to save others instead of themselves." Minho looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond dimensions that human minds couldn't fully understand, the swarm waited. Hungry, patient, inevitable. But the galaxy was waking up. Species that had been enemies were becoming allies. Technology that had been lost was being recovered, and humanity, the forgotten descendants of the progenitors, were finally remembering who they were. Not conquerors, not victims, guardians. Minho touched the window and smiled. He had been a janitor who cleaned forgotten corners. Now he was helping to prepare an entire galaxy for war. It was terrifying and impossible and completely insane. But it was also right. His blood knew it. His ancestors had given everything to buy humanity time. Now it was his generation's turn to honor that sacrifice. The Void Swarm would come. The seal would break. Darkness would threaten every living thing in the galaxy. But they would be ready. Together, united, strong. The heirs of the stars had awakened, and they would not go quietly into extinction. Minho looked at his reflection in the window. His eyes glowed faintly gold. He was still himself, still the quiet person who preferred simple work and peaceful nights. But he was also something more now. He was humanity's promise to the future, a promise that said, "We survived before. We will survive again. We are the children of those who sacrificed everything for life itself, and we will not let their sacrifice be in vain." The galaxy had a chance now, not certainty, but hope. And sometimes hope was enough.